Hi everyone, this is Mona. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're doing the Workbench Session 1 webinar on Flash reports. So if you could go ahead and on the next page we're going to see some questions. If you could test out the chat feature. If you could let me know, well if you hear me and you see the presentation, please type the following information: your location, your city and state, the businesses that you support. So for example, Antioch, Illinois, Kmart Toys Action Figures. And
where do we type that?
So you should have a chat section. It may be called Notes.
Oh, minutes?
Should maybe called Notes, I think, for most people. It looks a little bit different depending on how you're accessing the webinar. So there we go. And whenever you do submit chat questions, if you could try to submit them to the entire group instead of just the host, that helps to make sure that between me and Stephanie that we don't miss any questions during the presentation. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. So again, if you could let me know your location and the businesses you support, we'll take a look at these in a couple of. So I am recording today's webinar for your convenience. Later today I'll be sending out the video link as well as the PowerPoint that we're currently using. And if we could just go over some quick webinar etiquette. If you could be sure to put your phone on mute when you're not speaking, that's really helpful to cut down on the background noise. If you're listening to the audio directly from your computer instead of calling in, please be sure to mute your computer. You can access your computer's microphone options by going to Control Panel, Sound, and Recording tab. So again, if you could please be sure to keep your phones on mute. It cuts down on the background noise. Otherwise, it's really difficult to for the participants to hear, as well as the presenter as well, because it keeps cutting in and out. Okay, and if you could also wait to audibly ask questions until designated times. Stephanie will ask several times through the presentation if you do have any questions. And be sure to keep those questions on topic and minimal. If it's something off topic, you can always ask at the end of the webinar or send us an email. But please feel free to submit questions anytime during the presentation using the chat feature. So I did ask you to test out the chat feature. We got a few responses. We have Samantha from Seattle. She's with Jennifer from Knox, Indiana, is with fertilizer. And then we also have Mike from Foothill Ranch. So it's great. I'm glad you guys could join us. And again, please feel free to use the chat feature anytime during the presentation. So if we're not able to answer your questions, or if we miss your question, please email vendoruniversity@searshc.com, and we'll do our best to answer your question or locate who's the best person to answer it. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to Stephanie. She's going to be facilitating today's webinar.
Hello, everybody. This is a little about me. I'm Stephanie Nosik. I am the BU trainer. My main focus is inventory, but formerly I was an inventory and senior inventory analyst for 3 years, and I supported the Kmart businesses. I supported Kids World, Seasonal Basics, and also Infant Hardlines. And during that time, I used SHC Merchant Workbench reporting to illustrate the sales performance of my items, manage inventory levels, track orders, and assist with special store projects. I also used it a lot to communicate with my vendors. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Flash report. Has anybody seen or heard the Flash report before? If you could, go ahead and send those responses in to Mona. If not, that's okay. The Flash report is used for analysis and communication with business partners. It was something that we came in every Monday morning and frantically, okay, cool, that's all right. We're gonna take a look at it today, and that's fine if you haven't seen it yet. We're going to talk about what information is provided in the Flash report, and we're all going to step in and try to run the Flash report. A little bit before we jump into SHC Workbench, we'll talk about the data availability. So what you're going to be seeing is controlled by what is available in the system. So for receipt data, it goes back 2 years by KSN and 18 months if you're pulling by purchase orders. Sales information goes back 2 years. Inventory is 2 years if you're pulling at the level of fiscal week. If you're pulling daily inventory information, it can go back 35 days. Order tracking is available for 15 months in the past, and accounts payable is a rolling 12 months. A special note is that it can take up to 2 days for data changes to reflect in Workbench. So what does that mean? Perhaps you are seeing, if you're pulling by a specific store, you're seeing inventory information showing negative inventory. This might be because it hasn't showed up in the systems yet and there was a return, and that would be reflected with a negative inventory number. And a note for Sears JIT vendors, sales and inventory information is not available in Workbench. However, you can request SDP access for Workbench, not full access. We'll talk about access types in a minute. But you can access your sales and inventory information via the Sears Sales Alex reports. And to obtain access, send an email to vendors at searsagency.com. So the flash report information. The flash report will give you sales for the last 4 fiscal closed weeks, year-to-date information for basic merchandise, or life-to-date information for seasonal merchandise. And what I mean by that is seasonal merchandise generally is 12-week. You have 12-week-long seasons, so it's going to show you the life of that season. For year-to-date, for basic, a lot of times our basic product, for example, infant cribs was a basic product. We would have that in our assortment for more than 1 year. So this just goes back for a year-to-date. You'll also receive centralized merchandise markdown system information, so you'll be able to see what items are on markdown, as well as current inventory on hand and receipt information. It is important to know that the closed stores are removed from the totals on the flash report, so this is comp data that you would be looking at. So we're going to go ahead and in a minute we're going to navigate into Workbench, and then we're going to look at sales, items, sales, and flash. I'm going to navigate from the vendor portal, so you guys will be able to see exactly which steps you need to take. And I do encourage you to follow along and attempt to pull the flash for some of your items. So as you can see, I've already logged into the vendor portal with my username and ID. If you haven't, I'll give you a second to go ahead and do that, and then you should see the vendor portal page. We're going to navigate to SHC Merchant Workbench, and you can see right below Kmart and Sears applications, that is the first one listed. So go ahead and click on SHC Merchant Workbench. And you'll see that I am in Internet Explorer. Workbench does work the best in Internet Explorer. If you are using Chrome, you'll see that this menu along the side here looks really funky. It's not really readable. So I do suggest switching to Internet Explorer. So like you saw in that slide, we're going to navigate to the flash report, and that is in standard business process. Then you'll see we've got the sales option here. If you click on sales, you'll see it explode out like it did on my screen. We're going to scroll down to item sales and flash. So everybody should be seeing something that looks like this. You'll see that you have the option to look at the Kmart merchandise hierarchy, and this is where I'm going to stay because this is what I'm most familiar with. But you do have the radial button to click Sears merchandise hierarchy as well if you've got one of those Sears migrated businesses that is available in Workbench. From here, to make some selections, first you're going to want to select a division and at least one category. If you select one category and you don't manage things for every single thing in that category, you could always select the subcategory as well. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select toys and hobbies, and I'm going to select in the subcategory option small vehicles, because I know that's where Hot Wheels is, and that's what I want to take a look at today. The detail level, this is how your information is going to come back sorted. You can select KSN, season code, reporting ID, item ID. All of these options are available for you. And you can also have a summary level option where you're sorting by season code or markdown style, but that is not necessary. You don't need to select anything there. So I'm going to leave it selected at KSN ID just for our observation today. Now, if you have a list of items and you're not looking at your entire category, you're really wanting to drill down into that nitty-gritty detail, you have the option here with radial buttons, either item, KSN, or reporting ID, to load a file or enter a specific number. So if I knew my KSN ID, I would go ahead and type it in this little box and then click Add. Now you'll see that that KSN ID is made up, so we're not actually going to pull that. But that's how you would add one manually. You could also load a CSV file, and I believe there are instructions for formatting a CSV file. You would have your CSV file, you would navigate to it on your desktop, select it, and click Open. And then all of your KSMs would populate there for you, your KSMs, items, or reporting IDs. We're going to look at this top level, so I'm not going to make any kind of selection here for right now. You also have the ability to filter by any of these merchandise selections. So maybe you are only looking at your spring-summer product. Maybe you're only wanting to know about things that are domestic imports, or maybe you're looking at only available KSNs, which I think I'll actually pull. I'll make a selection for just available KSNs. You're not worried about any of the unavailable information. You have that option to make any of these selections here as well. What is going to come back in our report is listed here under the available column. So everything that is highlighted in blue will be seen on a report. Everything that is white or not highlighted is going to be left off. So maybe I want to see eaches per inner. To make that selection and add it to the rest of the available columns, I hold the Control key down on my keyboard and click eaches per inner, and now you can see that that's highlighted. Maybe I don't want to see the import code. Again, all I have to do is hold down the Control button and click, and you'll see that that is no longer selected. Now you can also make metric qualifications. Maybe you want to only see markdowns from a specific date. You do have that option to make those metric qualifications there, but I'm going to leave it alone because I want us to get back as much data as possible. And I do actually have an example report that you guys will be able to see. I have a question. The right side of the screen is being cut off. Let's see if I can minimize it here. Does that make it better? Can everybody see the full screen? Still the same. So the entire right-hand side, let's see if I move it, if I move the selections over here, can you guys see it? Is anybody else having this issue where the right side of the screen is being cut off? Now the left side of the screen is done.
It looks fine to me. It might be that the screen they're using is just small.
Sorry, Mike. It looks like maybe the screen you're using is small, so I'm going to try. So you're saying the left side of the screen is gone now. Are you able to navigate? Were you able to navigate on your own? Okay. Scroll bar at the bottom to scroll. Okay, so we got a suggestion from Samantha. Thank you. That she sees the full screen. You just have to scroll. Oh, Mike is still trying to log in. Okay, well, I'll give, let's say I'll pause for, ID and password issues. Well, I'll pause for a second if you can access that. If not, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and follow these steps to pull it on your own screen. If everybody else is able to see, I'm not going to hold everybody up for too much longer. Do try and access this. I do recommend getting in here and trying all of this yourself because it's okay, yes, thanks, Mike. I do recommend going back, revisit this once it's published, and play it along while you try to pull the report yourself. Sorry about that. Sorry about those technical issues. So we'll proceed. So now that we've made our selections here, you'll see up in the upper right-hand corner, if you guys are scrolling to follow me, the upper right-hand corner, you'll see Help, Clear, and Submit. So to get this report to run, we're going to go ahead and click the Submit button. And the way that you'll know that this is working, because it's kind of anticlimactic, nothing's happening, if you go down to the bottom, you see where the cursor is, at the bottom of the screen, kind of where your viewfinder, the 100% zoom level is, you'll see that it's loading here. So don't worry if it takes a minute or two. I taught this class for inventory analysts yesterday, and we actually had to wait 5 minutes before something came back. Generally, and I'm going to get rid of this screen so you guys don't see everybody else's information, and I'll go back to the PowerPoint because we do have some samples listed here for you. But generally, it's pretty quick. Usually, I'm not sure what's going on with our data loads this week, but generally things will come back very quick, like you kind of just saw a second ago, mine came back. So as your reports are coming back, you'll see we've got a couple of screenshots here of what you're seeing. You can see all of our hierarchy information listed, so you'll see your divisions, categories, your subcategories with descriptions. If you selected KSN ID or item ID, whatever you selected it to sort by, you'll see listed. You'll see your season codes and your sub-season codes along with your vendor name. So it should all be your items. So you'll see your guys' vendors' names and DUNS numbers listed there. Then you'll see the KSN's description, your stock number, your cost, and your sell price. Moving along the screen, you'll see your gross margin percent. You'll see your vendor carton quantities, so how you guys are shipping. And then here's that year-to-date and life-to-date information that I was talking about earlier. You'll see last week's sell-through percent, year-to-date and life-to-date sales units, how many weeks of supply. Oh, awesome. That's great. Very good, very good. I'm glad that we were able to see that full screen now. You'll see how many sales units occurred last week. So 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and 4 weeks ago. I know, it's exciting. It's exciting when things get fixed. So this, you can see, would probably be really helpful if you guys are in the middle of a reset. You're bringing in new product. You want to start seeing some of those sales units trickling in. So this is something that I would use, especially when we were resetting, to make sure that, yes, the inventory is on hand, so I could see that what was current source on order units and sellable inventory units. So I would expect to see that as I was resetting products, that sellable inventory units start to grow each week as stuff starts to land. And I would expect to see some of that store on order to kind of decrease as more things started checking in. And then I would be looking for those sales units, because we all know that sometimes even if it shows up at the store and it's on hand, maybe it's not out and ready to sell. So this is something I would definitely be checking on. And like I said a little bit earlier, you'll see the inventory information at the store, as well as the DC inventory and in transit. You can see the year-to-date sell-through percent, so you've got last week and year-to-date, as well as the total store units shipped year-to-date or life-to-date. So this is a really handy report. You get a lot of information. You don't have to do a lot of VLOOKUPs, which I know a lot of people in their businesses, you'll see reports that kind of explode out. This is something where it's kind of one-stop shopping. So nothing is loading for somebody in business or division. And yes, it should be loading. So this to me sounds a little bit like an access issue, and I'll get to who to contact to make sure that everything that you're supposed to see is actually being attributed to you guys, because that's kind of what this question is sounding like. Yep, no problem. And this is, I got to say, this is a really great group. This is the first time that I've actually seen all of the messages popping up that people were asking. So good job for responding to everybody. So like I was saying, that has probably got something to do with your setup issues. So this is who you'd want to contact for setup issues. Vendor support, vendors at SearsHC.com, and you would want to make sure won't be sent to me until 2 days. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're having issues with your IDs. But again, Mona will keep this presentation up so you guys will be able to view it after 2 days. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you have very specific report questions, go ahead and send them to me, stephanie.noswick@SearsHC.com. I do have a pretty large audience, so forgive me if it's not end of the day, but usually I get back to everybody within 2 days. If not, if it's really crazy, then by the end of the week, I don't let your guys' questions hang out there for too long. Regardless of who you're contacting, in the body of the email, please do include your vendor pay DUNS number, especially if you're experiencing those setup issues. your description of the issue, the report name, any of the criteria selections. So when we were selecting all those prompts, what you've actually selected. And for me, screen prints really help. If you send me screen prints, a lot of the times I can troubleshoot your issue very quickly. And you can kind of see here we've got a sample email. There is one other thing that I forgot to add. You can pull the report and put it into Excel as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly. So from the Workbench page right here, you'll see, and I'm just going to flip real quick, you'll see Excel. If you click on that, it will pull it into Excel for you, and you'll get something that looks like this. Oh, where can I get, we're getting a question, if I need to see sales figures for more than the last 4 weeks, where do you get that? That would be a different report. And we do actually go into Report Builder, which I would recommend if you're trying to customize any sort of time frame that you're looking at. I would definitely try Report Builder, but there's also regular sales reports that you should be able to get sales for the more than the last 4 weeks. This one is just a really quick and convenient one-stop shop. Just so you can, and this is something that we would run Monday morning. It's important to know that the flash is updated at the end of so the data that we're looking at is from the last closed business week. So if you're pulling it today or tomorrow, you're not exactly getting the most accurate information. But if you pull it in on a Monday or Tuesday, that really helps you kind of solve issues for that week for your business. So yes. So I would recommend coming to our next webinar. One of our next webinars, we actually go into Report Builder, and you can see how to pull kind of a more customized sales report. And then what is a vendor pay DUNS number, and how do we find it? So every vendor has a set of DUNS numbers that are attributed to them. A vendor pay DUNS is how you guys get paid. So someone in your guys' business should be able to find it. Also, if you contact Mona, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you contact vendors at Sears HC, they should be able to help you either find that contact person or give you your vendor pay DUNS based on what information we have there. So if you're getting paid for product, you have a vendor pay DUNS. You'll also have an order DUNS. If somebody is ordering from you, that's how all the orders get created. And you'll also have a ship DUNS. These are assigned to you by Duns and Bradstreet, which don't ask me any more about that process, but it is something that every vendor would have. So I'd recommend maybe contacting somebody in your business for accounts payable should really know it. But you could also probably shoot an email to vendors at SearsHC.com to find your vendor pay DUNS. Mona, do you have anything about vendor pay DUNS that you might add?
No, that's correct.
Samantha is looking for hers.
They can contact vendors at SearsHC.com. They'll have access to view all of their DUNS numbers.
Awesome. Yeah. So that would be your option to try and find that. Yep. Awesome. So again, there's another really convenient help feature. So before you start shooting off report questions to me, you might want to investigate help. And I'll demo how to open help in a second here. But help opens up a separate window where a lot of times you can find step-by-step instructions, view sample reports, find out what metrics are as well as their definitions, and it provides a lot of really helpful hints for using FHC Merchant Workbench. What I really like about the help feature here, I'm going to click out of these guys' information real quick so you guys don't see that. If you are in a report, instead of navigating to the help screen, which is just on your toolbar under help, and then you click help again, and it will take you to the online help main screen. But if I'm in the flash report, and all I really care about right now is the flash report, and I don't feel like typing in flash to look it up, I can just click on help in the upper right-hand corner above clear, and once I click on help, it explodes out for me, and it is already at the flash report entry. So you can see here, this is what I was talking about. You get the report description, how to navigate to it, a lot of uses for it, some key points to remember when it gets updated, as well as what I found really helpful when I was, starting to learn out some of these reports, a hot-spotted sample screen. So maybe I want to see what is this merchandise selection, replenishment status. It gives me a definition. So if it's A replenished item, which usually means it's a basic replenished thing. Yes means it's replenished, no means it's not. As well as if I scroll down, you can actually see the detail reports. You can see kind of the output. So maybe I don't know what is my vendor stock number. Maybe I don't know what does this year-to-date mean. What does this YTD mean? I can click on it and it gives me a definition. As well as, I don't know, for the total selling gross margin, it gives me the calculations for this as well. So that could be really helpful when you're kind of trying to learn all this lingo that folks on the Kmart side or the Sears side are speaking. This is a really good place to come and check some of that information out. So what are the questions? This is all the information that I have for you guys today, but I will stay on, and I believe Mona will also stay on for a little bit. If you guys have questions, we'll address them. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for joining, and I appreciate all the interaction, and we'll definitely get the recordings loaded so that way for anybody who is having sign-in troubles, they can go back and view them and attempt to run some of these reports.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them now. We'll stay on the line for a while. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day.